America didn't build this team just to compete. They didn't wait years for Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Gio Reyna, Sergiño Dest, and Folarin Balogun just to survive another tournament. They built this team for one reason: a home World Cup. A moment where the stadiums are theirs. The pressure is theirs. And the entire football world is watching to see whether the United States is finally ready to become something more than potential.
I mean, a World Cup on home soil, I don't know what else to say. It's amazing. It's a dream come true just playing a World Cup, but to be here, to have our support, have my family, friends around, it's so special.
Because for decades, America had everything: money, athletes, facilities, a massive sports culture. But in the one game the rest of the world lives for, America was still trying to prove it belonged. The United States is not used to being the outsider in sport. This is a country that built global leagues, superstar athletes, billion-dollar stadiums, and a sports culture that dominates television, marketing, and entertainment. In basketball, America became the standard. In athletics, America became a powerhouse. In American football, it built its own empire. But soccer was different. The sport was everywhere else before it was truly accepted here. In Brazil, it was religion. In Argentina, it was identity. In England, it was tradition. In Europe, it was history. But in the United States, soccer had to fight for attention. It had to fight for respect. It had to fight to convince its own country that this game mattered.
Changes vary from seat expansion to turf installation in order to conform to strict FIFA regulations.
And for years, every time the United States looked like it was getting closer, reality arrived. A painful exit, a missed chance, a generation that showed promise but never truly broke through. The world respected the effort, but it did not fear the team. Then came the night that forced American soccer to look in the mirror. The United States failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. For a country trying to convince the world it was becoming a football nation, this was more than a bad result. It was humiliation. It was a warning. And for the young players watching, it became fuel. Because out of that failure came a new promise. America would not just produce hard-working players anymore. It would produce players who could survive in Europe. Players who could handle pressure, players who could walk into the biggest stadiums in the world and not look out of place.
You know, my number one dream was to play for Team USA in a World Cup. So you can imagine when that really hit, that we wouldn't be there. I couldn't understand why it happened. I was obviously so upset, so emotional.
And at the center of that pain was a teenager named Christian Pulisic. He was still young, still developing, but already carrying a burden most players never asked for. He was not just expected to become a great player. He was expected to become the face of a football revolution. Slowly, the names started arriving. Christian Pulisic, the poster boy, the player who carried the weight of a country before he was even fully grown. Weston McKennie, energy, chaos, personality, and fight. Tyler Adams, the leader, the player who made the team feel organized, aggressive, and serious.
He goes for that is absolutely sensational from Tyler Adams.
Gio Reyna, the talent that made people believe America could finally produce creativity at the highest level. Sergiño Dest, a fullback with flair, risk and confidence. And then came Folarin Balogun, the striker profile the United States had been waiting for. For the first time, America didn't just have a team full of effort. It had names, it had European experience, it had players who weren't just dreaming about the top level, they were already living inside it, and that changed the conversation. Because suddenly, the question was no longer, can America produce footballers? The question became, can America produce a team that actually matters when the world is watching?
This U.S. team, it's going to be very difficult for them to be bad. That's not to say they can't do it. We've seen it.
But talent alone was never the final goal. Everything was building toward 2026, a World Cup on home soil, a tournament where the United States would not be a guest. It would be one of the hosts, and that changes everything. When a team plays away from home, it can hide behind difficulty. the travel, the atmosphere, the pressure, the unfamiliar conditions. But at home, there is nowhere to hide. The crowds are yours. The cameras are yours. The expectation is yours. And for this generation, that expectation became enormous. When Mauricio Pochettino arrived, the message was clear. This was not supposed to be a team that simply enjoyed the moment. This was supposed to be a team that attacked it, a team that pressed, a team that suffered, a team that played with the intensity of a country trying to change its football history. And suddenly, the golden generation had a coach with a reputation big enough to match the mission. But this is where the story becomes dangerous, because football does not care about marketing. It does not care about potential. It does not care how much a country wants a moment. And for the United States, there was still one problem that refused to disappear. When the level rose, the margins became brutal. Against top football nations, talent was not enough. Energy was not enough. Belief was not enough. The United States could look fast, it could look aggressive, it could look dangerous. But knockout football asks a different question. Can you control your emotions? Can you finish the one chance you get? Can you survive when the other team has history, experience, and no fear of your stadium? That was the shadow hanging over this team. Not whether they were talented. Everyone could see the talent. The question was whether they had grown up enough to win when the game became uncomfortable. And no player carried this story more than Christian Pulisic. For years, he was called Captain America, sometimes fairly, sometimes unfairly, because that nickname came with a weight. Every time the United States needed a goal, people looked at him. Every time the team lacked creativity, people looked at him. Every time America wanted proof that it could produce a true football star, people looked at him. But Pulisic's story is not just about talent. It is about survival. Surviving the hype, surviving injuries, surviving criticism, surviving the pressure of being the symbol of a country still trying to convince the world. By 2026, he was no longer the kid America hoped would become something. He was the veteran leader this team needed to become something. And in a home World Cup, that difference mattered, because this was no longer about potential, this was about delivery. But Pulisic couldn't carry the dream alone. For years, one of the biggest questions around the United States was simple. Where is the killer? Where is the striker who can turn pressure into goals? Where is the player who needs half a chance? That is why Folarin Balogun mattered. He gave the United States something different. A forward who wanted to attack space, a forward who could stretch defenders, a forward who made the team feel more dangerous in the moments where tournament football is often decided. Because in the World Cup, the difference between history and heartbreak can be one run, one touch, one finish. And if America was truly built for one reason, it needed someone who could turn that reason into a goal. But the most interesting part of this team might not be the stars, it might be the preparation. Because at this level, pressure becomes its own opponent. A penalty shootout, a final minute chance, a stadium holding its breath, a country waiting for one kick. That is why the United States prepared not just physically, but mentally. Under Pochettino, the team focused on details that most fans never see. Composure, routine, decision-making, the ability to stay calm when everything around you is chaos. Because the dream was never just about having better players, it was about becoming a team that could survive the moments where better players usually break. So now the story is simple. America built the facilities. It built the league. It developed the players. It hired the coach. It waited for the generation. And then, finally, the World Cup came home. There were no more excuses, no more talk about the future, no more waiting for the next group. This was the moment. The team America had spent years trying to create. The team that was supposed to prove soccer could finally capture the country. The team that was supposed to show the world that the United States was no longer just a developing football nation. It was a real threat, but that is the cruel thing about football. You can build for years and still be judged in 90 minutes. Maybe this is the generation that changes everything. Maybe this is the team that finally makes the world look at American football differently. Or maybe, when the pressure becomes too heavy, this becomes another chapter in a dream that was always bigger than the team itself. But one thing is certain, America did not build this team just to participate. America built this team for one reason, and now they have to prove it.